You're thinking about selling your house in Park City, Utah. Well, in today's video, I wanted to share with you some frequently asked questions by home sellers. So, first off, we are going to start with the very first question that most people ask, and it is, what is the current market value of my home? Well, there are a couple ways that we actually get this information for you. So, we've got a CMA or we have an appraisal, right? So, a CMA and an appraisal. An appraisal is not an estimate of what a willing and able buyer will pay, but rather a justification of what they agreed to pay. A lender is loaning money against the collateral value. They want the appraiser to verify the value. This is typically done by using past history of sales. I want you to understand that Utah is a non disclosure state. So you will not be able to see what past homes have sold for on Zillow, Realtor.com, any of those public websites. You actually have to come to a real estate agent for that. An appraiser uses sold comps to the proximity and comparables of your property. A real estate agent is going to use these comparables from active competition, pending sales, and things that are already under contract and from recently sold, also from expired listings. And we even may go through a wider area if it is a super luxury property that is very, very unique and has unique amenities. So we'll also look at tax assessment data from the county records, and we'll factor in your construction costs and your reproduction costs. But we really look at pending, sold, and active comparable properties to yours. Everybody wants to know, what will I net with the sale of my home? So, expenses that are associated with selling your home, right? Do you have a mortgage to pay off? Real estate brokerage commissions, potential negotiations for repairs and concessions that are asked for from a buyer, right? Pro tip, I think that you should absolutely get a pre-home inspection and fix all the things that come up on the inspection. That way, you are not caught off guard or thrown for a loop if certain things come back. I have been in situations where sellers have been incredibly offended when the home inspection came back and the deal did not go through because that home inspection was such a shock and they were in such denial that that there were problems with the roof, that there were moisture stains, there was radon in the house. I mean, all the red flags that could come back came back. And would have gotten a pre-home inspection, we could have gotten ahead of those items. Now, a lot of times people are like, well, maybe I don't have the money to afford something that's really, really a big deal. And so maybe you offer that as a concession to a buyer. But I also want to let you know that anything that does come up in that home inspection, like, you need to disclose everything, right? And what you do is you take those seller's disclosures, maybe you attach that home inspection report to those seller's disclosures and you say, hey, here's how we fixed this. Here's the receipts. Here's who fixed it. And you make a packet, right? I think a lot of times people feel overwhelmed with this seller disclosure thing and they're like, well, the line's not really big enough to write anything in there. Or they just go through and they check no for everything, right? And that is like an attorney's dream, to have a long list of boxes that are checked no, right? So I think being really honest in your seller's disclosures, disclosing everything. And so I think sometimes, a lot of times, if you've lived in a property for 20 years, you're like, well, yeah, like, we've had leaks, we've repaired windows, we've done this, we've done that. And sometimes you have to take a long time to sit down and come up with and think about these seller's disclosures and what you want to attach to it. Because you really want to attach the history of the property to it. So that, I mean, that is the easiest way to protect you from a lawsuit. So when people are asking what they're going to net with their home, right? So a buyer could also ask for a possibility of closing costs, right? So what I can do for you is provide you with a net sheet from the title company so that you'll have an estimate of what you'll end up netting before you even list your home. Now, keep in mind, this document is just an estimate. So we need to know exactly what your mortgage payoff will be, but it also doesn't include repairs or concessions that you'll be providing a buyer with. The next thing is, people always want to know, well, how long is it going to take to sell my house? Well, that really depends. There are 8 factors that actually affect the sale of your home, right? So price affects your home, location affects your home, the amenities affect your home, condition, right? This is style, age, maintenance. Is there deferred maintenance on the property? Is it a really clean home? Is it a really messy home? Does it need some cleaning and some upkeep and some things to be repaired on it? features, beds, bath, lot size, square footage. It also depends on interest rates and financing. When we have higher interest rates, that tends to make the market drag. When the interest rates drop, there's a lot more buyers that can play in the market. And so it tends to be more of a seller's market when interest rates are lower. How's the economy, like the overall market? How's the job economy? What's happening in the world? And then the eighth thing is obviously the marketing, right? Print, digital, video, social media, networking, global, international, uh, open houses, broker tours, um, networking with the company, networking on a broader scope with the franchises of the company, really getting out there and thinking, who is the buyer? What kind of property do we have? What is unique about this property? Who is going to be our buyer avatar? And really go all in on trying to connect a buyer and find a buyer who is right for that home. And the only thing that an agent can really control out of all of these features is the marketing aspect of it. And the only thing that can fix any of the issues about these factors that affect the sale of your home is price, right? You don't want to update something, maybe you lower the price. Maybe the carpet needs to be redone in the entire house. So maybe you offer a concession or you lower the price. Whatever you are doing to make up for, a dated home or a home that needs updates, maybe you still got green carpet in there. We lower the price, right? So price is the only thing that can really fix any of those factors. The next thing that we want to go through, and it also depends on the season of the year that you're selling. Are you selling in the winter, the spring, the summer, the fall? I think ski people who are selling ski condos, the best time to list it is like right before ski season starts. And usually people want to list their homes after ski season because they're like wanting to get all their nightly rental income. But I want you to keep this in mind, like people who are buying a ski condo are actually kind of like excited that this property, most of the time, that, oh, we already have future bookings on the list. This is great. And when you go to close on that property, it will be split even equally and fairly between you as the seller and the buyer who's purchasing. So I think that people who wait to list their ski properties till after ski season are making a huge mistake because they're like, oh, we want to collect it. We wanted to collect all the nightly rental income, and now we're going to list it. Well, you should list it right before ski season. That's the sweet spot, because when people come into town, and they're skiing, that's when they're excited to go look at these properties, right? And I oftentimes tell people, like, if you're buying like a hotel condo, like St. Regis, Montage, anything at Deer Valley, usually those properties are pretty heavily booked, and sometimes they're actually really hard to get in and see. Same thing at Canyons Village, right? Things get booked up really, really quickly during the winter season, and there's not a lot of windows for buyers to go see those properties. The fourth question that I always get asked a lot is, will my property sell, right? Well, again, let's refer to the 8 factors that affect the sale of your home. And number 3, the way that we get the absorption rate is by adding the number of active properties, the number of under contract properties, and the number of sold properties. And we divide that total number by the numbers of solds, okay? And that is how we get the absorption rate, which is how many months it will take for your home to sell. A lot of times people want to know, how will my property be marketed, right? If someone walks in and they're like, oh, I'm just going to stick a sign in the yard, like, kick them out the door. You cannot do that these days, right? We've got digital exposure, print ads and magazines. We have postcards. We have social media. We have YouTube. Holla at your girl. I'm a professional at YouTube. I am probably the best channel to have your Park City property or Heber property or Midway property or Wasatch Back property on my channel, right? I am like the biggest resource for this. Get your property on my YouTube channel because it gets it in front of buyers. I have so many clients that I serve through my YouTube channel, and people are always shocked, right? I mean, I had a client that just bought 3 properties, and they found me on YouTube. They watched a video, called me the next day and said, we've been following you for some time now. We just weren't ready. We weren't at a time in our life where we could do anything. Now we're ready, right? That came from YouTube. And all of the people that come from YouTube are so amazing to work with. We jive so well. So there's also email marketing campaigns. There's e-blasts to brokers, local international and global reach. We also do open houses. Now, do you have to do an open house? That is completely up to you as a seller if you want open houses or if you don't want open houses. I know a lot of times when there is a really expensive price point, it's not always like smart to do open houses. Like you have to be very strategic about what kind of houses, open houses that you throw. Are you just going to do invite only for certain brokers who you know have buyers in that price point that work with high net worth individuals? Who is our buyer for this? We want to make sure that we're really vetting the people that come through this house. So it's not just a bunch of looky lures or people who are casual buyers or neighbors who are just walking in that want to see what your house looks like. Like we want to be like almost like discreet in a sense and really lock down who we allow in the property sometimes. That depends on the property, right? The price point and the market that we're dealing with. And it also depends on you and what you want, right? So, will there be open houses? So, open houses really create neighborhood awareness, they create broker awareness, they create agent exposure. It's a really easy way for brokers, agents, neighbors, people to get into the property, and it often can attract a buyer. Open houses are just a really convenient way for people to tour your property. And if you want open houses, it is completely up to your discretion, like I was saying before. 7, what should be done to prepare for showing? So, first off, we need to look at the staging guide, which I have a link to that. And if we get down this further down the road and you actually want to come in, you want to hire me to sell your home, I have a whole staging guide that I actually print out for you and I bring to you. And it's great. It tells you what to do for a living room, a kitchen, outdoor space, the yard, what to do for a bathroom, uh, a living room, all the things, right? We really want to declutter. We want to simplify the property. We want to get rid of any big, heavy furniture. We want to make it really flow, look really, really clean. We don't want a lot of personal items because when buyers walk into the house, we want them to feel like they can see themselves there. And if they see your family all over the walls or they see a lot of you in the house, sometimes it's really hard for people to envision themselves there, especially if the house is really messy. And I've seen it time and time again because I've had a lot of buyers where especially during COVID, we were looking at a lot of off market properties that weren't ready to be listed yet. And I'm telling you, I think the listing agent did a huge disservice to their client by allowing us to come through the property when it really wasn't ready to be shown because my clients did not have the eye to look at it. They looked at it and thought, ooh, we don't like the furniture. It's really messy. They just didn't get a good vibe from it. So, staging is really important, whether you hire a professional stager to have it, or you are just an amazing interior decorator and you don't need staging, or whether we just kind of remove some of your items and we put them in a storage unit, or you have a yard sale, or you have your kids come over and grab some of the furniture and items that they want. Whatever it is, we really need to simplify, declutter, depersonalize the space. We need to let a lot of light in. And, maybe these are things where we get the carpet clean, we get the floors clean, we get the floors polished. We wait till spring so that the yard is really nice and green. Um, and we power wash the driveway. We get the windows cleaned. We make sure that there's no leaves stuck in the rain gutters or leaves or debris on your porches or your decks. We want everything really crispy and really, really clean. And then we want to think about too, are there any simple cosmetic updates that could be completed prior to any of your showings, right? So if maybe you have a scuff or like a wiggly handle, or maybe you have a rip in your screen, like what are some of those cosmetic things that buyers are going to notice, right? Are all the electrical plates on your on your light switches? Believe it or not, I've had houses where I'm like, where's the electrical plates? What happened, right? And then obviously people want to know when pictures will be captured. So in section 9 of the exclusive right to sell agreement, which is my listing agreement with you, and you are actually hiring the company, it explains the advertising and the seller authorizations, right? So section 9, I'm not going to bore you with this because I directly copied and pasted it and took it out of the exclusive right to sell, right? So you are authorizing the company, the seller's agent, to advertise the property for sale through any printed and or electronic media deemed necessary and appropriate by the seller's agent and the company, included but not limited to each MLS which the seller's agent participates. The agent agrees, right, that advertising the seller intends to conduct include print and or electronic media. It shall first be approved through you. The seller further agrees that the seller's agent and the company are authorized. So I'm not going to bore you with this whole thing. It's something that we go over if you decide to hire me as your agent. So will there be a for sale sign placed on the property, or where will it be placed, right? So again, we read section 9 of the exclusive right to sell agreement. Uh, the place for sale, sold, or other similar signs on the property. For sale signs will usually be placed in the front yard. However, if you live in a condo complex, townhome, or a community where signs are not allowed, right? Certain neighborhoods in Park City, you can't put signs up. So in that case, there would be no sign on the property. Where will the key box be placed? So again, we're going to read section 9 of the exclusive right to sell, because this is where we talk about the key box and turning over keys to your listing agent so that they can actually show the property. Key boxes don't have to be placed on the property. A Supra does not have to be placed if you don't want one on there. Sometimes people use contractor boxes, but a Supra is far more security, because every time somebody opens up the Supra box, I know exactly who's showing the property. I know when they get there. I know when they leave. Most of the time, I've never really had a client where they're like, oh yeah, just leave a key box on the door and let the buyer's agent just show the property without you there. Every client that I've ever worked with wanted me to be present for the showings, and I think that was a good decision on their part, because sometimes there are security alarms. You want to protect, you want to make sure nobody leaves the lights on, or doors unlocked, or doors open, or garage doors open. You want to make sure that pets don't get out. Sometimes there's a lot of instructions for showing a property. A lot of times there are agents where it's like a vacant home. They'll just stick a key box on and say, go show. But at the end of the day, like, I really like to turn the lights on for people. I don't like to hover over anybody's shoulder. I like to give them privacy. But at the end of the day, I'm hired to help you sell your property. And not every agent that comes through that door is going to be an expert on the property like myself. So I want to point out all the unique features of the properties. If they're not familiar with the area, I need to show them where you are this proximity to the grocery store, to the schools, to the ski slopes, all the amenities around them, in case they're not aware of that. Um, how will showings happen? So at the end of the day, people always want to know, how will showings happen? So in whatever way is most convenient for you. Do you prefer to have 24 hours notice? Do you like evenings better, mornings better, weekends? Do you have a specific time frame? There's some people who have specific work schedules. Some people don't live in their property. It's a second home, so it's available to show all the time. Um, are you okay with me being present? Are you okay with me not being present during certain showings, or do I need to be present for the whole thing? That is completely up to you, and how you want the property shown. Keep in mind that a lot of people sometimes fly into town unexpectedly. So you always want to try to be accommodating to the people who want to see it right away, because you never know, like, they could end up really wanting to buy the home, right? So I just think, like, do we have any special rules, regulations that you would like me to follow, pass along to buyers agents, directions when they're showing the property, right? So when does the property officially get listed on the MLS? So once the exclusive right to sell agreement has been signed between you as the seller and me as your agent, the property actually needs to hit the MLS within 5 days. That is actually a rule. And if that is too soon, then we just have to sign 2 certificates to withhold, one for the Wasatch Front MLS, one for the Park City MLS. And if we want it to be 2 weeks before the home gets listed, we can just insert a date. If we want it to be 2 months, we can just insert that date. And I think that's a really smart and wise move. Otherwise, we're really hustling and bustling and trying to get photos in, videos done, all this marketing done before the property hits the MLS. And sometimes it's actually nice to have a little bit of breathing room, sign the document, give ourselves 2 weeks. Let's get the photos done. Let's get the property staged appropriately. Let's make sure the weather's good for the photos. Let's hit it with a really great listing video. Let's also get some flyers going. I love when properties hit the MLS on a Thursday, because then you can immediately do an open house that weekend. And I think also you want your property to be listed on the Park City MLS, because this is Park City, right? The Park City MLS is the Wasatch Back MLS. When you're hiring an agent who's only part of the Utah Real Estate MLS, which is the Wasatch Front, which is essentially a Salt Lake agent, you're doing yourself a huge a disservice because you're missing all the people that service this Wasatch Back market, this Park City market, the agents who actually work in the Park City market, right? Not just that have a relative or related to somebody that has a house in Park City and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to let my niece sell the house, but they're a Salt Lake agent, right? Huge disservice. You want the neighborhood expert. You want the person who knows the area. It's so specific. Real estate is so specific. It's such a niche area. You want somebody who works the Wasatch Back, right? Um, and the other thing too is section 1.0 uh, of the exclusive right to sell also talks about procedures and personal property, right? So what is the buyer's agent compensation? Well, in section 2 of the exclusive right to sell, it explains what Berkshire Hathaway's brokerage fee is. We are a full service brokerage. There are different brokerages, different models, different companies. Everything's negotiable. Some companies might charge you 4%. Some might charge you 2. Some can charge you 1. Some might charge you 7. Some might charge you 6. We are a full service brokerage and we have an incredible network, in-house marketing, in-house counsel. So I just want to be very, very clear that commissions vary depending on the company that you hire. And how can you be sure that the funds are going into your account? Well, first off, we really, in section 19 of the exclusive right to sell agreement, it talks about how to know there is a wire fraud disclosure form that you're going to want to be signing. Next up on the docket is what will the buyer expect to be included in the sale of the property? So I think this is really important because sometimes there's maybe like a chandelier or like a built-in shelf that you plan on taking, or maybe you plan on taking your Tesla charger or the Ring doorbell system, or you're going to take the TV mounting brackets. Section 1.1 of the Utah real estate purchase contract and section 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 are going to explain all the items that are included in the sale of the property, right? So when we look through this what is included here, we've got plumbing, heating, air conditioning, fixtures and equipment, solar panels, ovens, ranges, hoods, cooktops, dishwashers, ceiling fans, water heaters, water softeners, light fixtures, and bulbs, bathroom fixtures, bathroom mirrors, all window coverings, including curtains, draperies, and rods, windows, blinds, shutters, windows, door screens, storm doors, windows, awnings, satellite dishes, all installed TV mounting brackets, all wall and ceiling mounting speakers, affixed carpets, automatic garage door openers, and accompanying transmitters, security systems, fencing, and any landscaping. So, is there anything else that we're including in the property? Section 1.2, are we going to do the washer and dryer, refrigerator, microwave ovens? A lot of times, some homes have multiple washers and dryers, some homes have multiple refrigerators. And then section 1.3 is where we would list what is actually excluded from the sale. Do you have a chandelier that you're keeping? Do you have a fixture? My recommendation is always things that you intend on taking with you with the sale of your property, get rid of them and replace them with something else before you even show the home, because buyers come through, they fall in love with it. Now they want it and it becomes about a fixture. So what happens to your water shares? So if you read section 1.4 of the purchase contract, it talks about water shares, right? Uh, the next question is, people are always, am I obligated to pay for my HOA assessments? So in section 4 of the real estate purchase contract, which I copied and pasted here, section 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. Section 4.1 is the prorations, right? So this kind of tells you what you're going to be splitting with the buyer, right? Special assessments. Are we going to have the seller pay, the buyer pay? Are we going to split it equally, right? Fees, costs, and closing payment obligations is located in section 4.3. So that kind of tells you what you are responsible for paying, what you're not responsible for paying, and what is going to be prorated or split between you as the buyer and the seller. And then I think people are always like, what costs are mine? What costs are the buyers? So same thing, right? Proration, special assessments, fees, costs, and payment obligations are all located in section 4 of the real estate purchase contract. Number 19 is people are like, "What should I disclose?" Everything. If you're like, "Should I disclose this?" I will tell you, I would. Yes, disclose it. Disclose everything. Your legal protection is that seller's property condition disclosure, right? If you end up in a lawsuit down the line because something happens or you didn't disclose something and that buyer comes after you, the attorney is going to look through those seller's disclosures and see if it was disclosed, okay? So, everything that materially affects the property, you're going to fill out a document called the seller property condition disclosure form. This is the most important form you will ever fill out when you are selling your home. Okay, you're going to disclose HOA assessments. Are there any future assessments, current assessments, special assessments affecting the property? This is especially common with condos, townhomes, hotel condos. Are they redoing the hallway of the hotel? Is it an older hotel? Are they redoing the elevator shaft? Are they redoing all the siding, the windows, and the roofs because it's an older condo complex? And then please review section 10.2 and section 10.3 of the real estate purchase contract. So, what needs to be done for you to keep excluded items, right? So, there are certain things that maybe you want to keep. Maybe you want to keep that Tesla charger, the Ring doorbell system, whatever it is. We just need to make sure that it is written into the contract. If it's not in the contract, then the buyer gets it. So, I always recommend just getting rid of it so the buyer doesn't even see it. Are you obligated to sell your property for appraised value? No. However, a buyer could walk away because they do not have the cash on hand to pay that appraisal gap. So that is always something to note with people. And then what is the plan if you get multiple offers? Well, when I do a listing presentation with my clients, I like to go over kind of what limited agency is as well as what your choices are in case you were to get multiple offers, right? So your first choice is you can accept or counter one of the offers. The second one is that you can present multiple counter offers. Hey guys, give me your best and final. I think when that happens, a lot of buyers tend to walk away. They don't want to get in a bidding war. Or you could pick a specific offer that you want to work with and then just counter that offer. The next thing that people always ask is when should we pack? Well, if you are somebody that is living in your property while it's being sold, which is always super stressful, I always say once the buyer has passed all their contingencies, that is a wonderful time to start packing up the home, right? Because they can always cancel before due diligence. They could always cancel before financing and appraisal if something goes wrong. And so you really want to start packing up after they've passed their contingencies. There's also a way of going in and sometimes buyers will be like, I want possession upon closing. And you're like, well, yeah, if I'm waiting for you to get past all three of your contingencies in this contract, then maybe I'm not giving you possession on closing. Maybe I need 3 days to actually pack up and get my belongings and move out of the house, right? And I don't blame you if you're a seller doing that because sometimes it's really hard to go, well, a lot of people are like, I'm not going to pack until I have the money in my account, right? You want to make sure the buyer actually closes. So you're not just sitting in a home with empty boxes and then having a buyer cancel on you. So I always say it's always best to start packing once the buyer has passed their contingencies. Then you really know that they're serious. They mean business. They're going to close. They are ready and here for it. They want the house. And then the next thing that people always ask is, should we purchase a home warranty? I think this is a great idea to offer to a buyer. I think it is your insurance. Otherwise, if you don't have this in place, then you are the insurance and they come after you. Well, the refrigerator broke, or it becomes the agent's problem, right? The agent has to dip into their pocket, buy a new refrigerator. So I always think it's great to do a home warranty for a buyer. You can also split with them or offer to pay a little bit of it. But that way, everything that's working on the property, Murphy's Law, if something will go wrong, something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And likely, like maybe they move into the property 2 weeks later, the water heater goes out, right? You have a home warranty in place. They can call them, they can get a new one, they can get it fixed. Like it really saves your bum. Another thing too is you can also do free listing protection. So we have a partnership with Old Republic Home Warranty, and while your home is listed, they actually offer free seller's coverage. So what happens when the dishwasher breaks while you're under contract? Who's responsible for that, right? They'll come in, they'll fix it. What happens if the furnace goes out, the water heater goes out when you're under contract? It's just smart. It's a smart move to have in place. And then a lot of people are always like, When should we make an offer on a new property? And I think that is really depends on when you need the funds from this property to buy another property. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Nicole Bowdle. I'm a local real estate agent in Park City, Utah. If you are thinking about selling your home in Park City or the Wasatch Back, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've lived in Park City for 38 years. I'm hyper local, knowledgeable about this market. And if you liked this video, then go check out some of these videos and more tips that I have made for sellers.